Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. And we are thrilled to have Fintan on with us today. So, hello, Fintan.
Hello, Ginny. I'm only called Fintan when I'm in trouble. So, but you call me what you like. Finn is much easier and easier than you.
Well, you're obviously in trouble then. I know that. Yeah, that isn't it interesting about names? So I'm Ginny, but my real name's Jane, and the only people who ever have really called me that are my dad when I was in trouble and my brother. Names are a fascinating thing, aren't they? So I'll move on to Finn.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
I now just want to say Fintan all the time.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're in trouble.
It's to emphasise the fact that I think the all of you is going to be responsible for whatever you've done. I think that's the issue, as opposed to just a piece of you, really. Which is
I like that. I mean, the whole thing about names is an interesting one. My mum changed my name because at school, my best friend was called Jane. So I was called Jane B and she was called Jane P. And my mum didn't like it. But I've known in schools, Finn, that there's been like John 1 and John 2. And you're like, how do you become John 1 and who becomes John 2? And I just don't like it. I think that loss of identity
probably affects you for life, thinking that you're a John too. No, when I said Fintan years ago and I was a kid, people heard Vincent, so much so that a friend of mine just coined, "You've heard this," and my nickname then all during college was Vince, because of the Fintan. Anyway, so Finn's become that much more popular as a kid's name, actually. A generation ago, no one was called Finn, but you got quite a lot of Finns now, really. But,
and I have got children, when I work with them, they talk about how, God, imagine having that name. How would you ever spell it? So Finn is actually...
And also things go in cycles. Like there's very few like young people now under the age of 16 called Sarah, for example, or Helen. But, those when I was growing up, those were in fact, most Senkos in the country are called Helen, it seems to me. Or, there's just a lot
there's
of
a lot
people.
Of Sarahs.
A lot of Sarahs too. Yeah, Sarah, Helen,
called Sarah.
Claire.
Yeah.
Sarah, Helen, Claire, Hannah would be up there in those areas. But, But anyway, interesting, as you say.
Yeah, and I always, not always, but, I think, what name have I never taught a child? So I've never taught a Sharon.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Or there won't be any Ians or Trevors or Howards either, probably, that, you've come across. But again,
or Wayne or Kevin.
Most of my friends here now, who are a certain age, are all Howard, Ian, and Trevor. So, and of course there was always, and you're never going to get, Trevor's got a good song after it, as in clever Trevor. Yeah, Gordon, the song's not so good actually. So,
No, I saw that documentary about Gordon Ramsay, and the song about Gordon was in the charts when he was young, and it followed him around.
It's cruel. It's cruel. You're very unlucky or lucky, depending on what you get called, and then what comes along, which is attached to your name in the future. Being teasing and horrible for anybody who was, of that really, and. But he's done okay despite all that, hasn't he, Gordon Ramsay? Sometimes a bit of adversity, and he had a battle to actually to get through to his early years, and now look at him. So So.
I've watched the entire documentary. My son wanted to, although I was really trying not to let him watch it. It has quite a lot of swearing in it, but in the end, it's kind of one of those things. It's quite an interesting story. Yeah, it's got quite an interesting story.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah. And I think our first question is, please introduce yourself. And I feel, Finn, that I know so much about you already before you've even introduced yourself. So
you don't. There's many layers.
Tell us more. Tell us more about
you're just around long enough, really. That's why we like you guys coming along, Jin and Sarah. I've always said new kids on the block, new
I
wave,
loved it.
new
He
thoughts,
introduced me,
the new
didn't you?
kids on
That's
the
like,
block.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Our sole
introduced
focus,
me.
myself and people like Steve Chin and I don't know, sort of people like that have been around for a while. So yeah, you got new kids on the block. So I'm a former head teacher of a specialist school. I've always been interested, I suppose, in your non-traditional learners. I wrote a few books on ADHD back in the early noughties, which when it wasn't really a thing, I suppose, here. And I've been working in schools and businesses for a while with training and trying to support families with children with neurodivergence issues, I suppose now we're talking about it. So,
I love that. And I mean, there's so much. I was actually talking about you recently, Finn. In fact, I talk about you quite a lot. I recommend your books, and I recommend just generally anything online, which is kind of any of the things where you're talking about ADHD or just talking generally about kind of learning. And I used that one of your quotes, I think, when I listened to you many moons ago at a dyslexia show about it's about mood and
yeah,
changing
yeah.
the mood and
Yeah, thanks.
changing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think over the years it's just occurred to me, I was always it's actually interesting because we're always talk about behavior, whereas actually really what we should be talking about is learning and socialization. Because you get that right, you definitely will reduce the behavior. But if you are talking about behavior, it's such an abstract term, and it
Yeah.
is just I always focus more on drilling it down to mood and motivation, and
Yeah.
and I think that's more useful in terms of a focus of of changing the outcome.
And you just made me think then, gosh, years and years ago when I first started training, how we all perceive which behaviours we perceive as challenging, and having a whole room of people, and the contrast
It,
in
it,
again, it's so abstract.
You're absolutely right. I used to have a staff meeting on a Thursday, and we'd be talking about a particular student,
Yeah.
and 50% of the staff were saying he was annoying and irritating because he was always shouting out and
Mm.
disrupting others, and then the other 50% will say, no, he's just overly enthusiastic. He just can't help himself, and that's what it said. So what I was
Lens.
thinking, what is it you see that
Mm.
and don't
Different.
see, and what is it
Yeah.
that you do see and
Mm.
you ignore, and that's when I think when we're training, as we all know, it's you've got different personalities in the room, different styles, different patience points that affect people, and I think you're trying to find something which registers across. And I suppose one of the things, thanks for saying it, but in I think what some of the feedback that's come back over the years from conferences is that working more with mood and behaviour has helped,
Yeah.
be supportive really. So
And just
yeah,
shift our own thinking, isn't
yeah,
it? I
yeah.
think that's hugely important. So, Finn, I mean, there's so much you can probably tell us here, but just thinking, have you had a wow moment, a particular one wow moment that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like similar to what you've just been talking about. I used to do a 4 week parent course in Sutton. It was for families that were really struggling with with the children and young people they were living with, and so it was 4 hours on a Monday, and we were doing this over 4 weeks. And the first week, I'd be putting out some slides like we all do, and we all sort of try and hit the targets, and they'd be nodding, and then it was probably week 2 or 3, I can't remember, but one of the parents said to another parent, we always used to have a thing about how was your week and what was going on at home, and they were saying it was a better week this week, and this parent said, well, how did you do that? And this parent turned to another parent and said, you know, it's not about behavior, it's all about changing the mood. And I was thinking, hang on a minute,
Yeah.
I said that week 1 and there was blank
Yeah.
faces there, but then I've learned over the years that the true
Yeah.
value of a trainer is when one of your delegates pick something up and is then able to transmit it to another delegate, and they're talking about it. That's your wow moment. That's what training is
Yeah.
about, really.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, week 1 it wasn't embedded, but week 2 or 3, and having someone else say it. This is why I always say to parents, I mean, I'm asked a lot, should you get an assessment? I say, get one, put your name down, put it in your back pocket, But what can you do? Number one, to your environment, join a support group. They are so helpful. And
Yeah.
then number three, maybe get someone to help steer you, but maybe get a coach or something, to help you with you.
Yeah.
But
And I
support
think
groups
that
vital, really vital.
yeah. And it's that thing of other people having a similar experience to you. And
Correct.
I think
Yeah.
there is nothing that experience, nothing beats
Yeah.
that. Just
Yeah.
even if you can kind of initially
Yeah.
have a kind of a,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, time together, but also it's that feeling that you're not on your own.
Yeah,
I think a lot
absolutely. And you're living it and sharing. You always say sharing
yeah,
a problem is halving a problem, and you spark each other like when we're doing now. When you have this call, even if you don't always solve a problem by speaking about it to somebody
yeah,
else. It's not just what they say; it's how they look.
yeah,
It's how they look interested, and it kind of sparks you to sort of like maybe solve it in a different way. So that's why I think that's why face to face is so important, really. So.
and
Yeah.
it's looking at something differently. Ginny,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
so powerful for this as well. Ginny's always with me. She's like, pause. Just have a think about this. No, no, but in terms of you're doing coaching that you're doing currently as well, it is around that opportunity to just sometimes take a moment because it's that how we look at something is hugely influenced. And then that first action then influences what happens next.
Mm.
And it's that if you can have a chance to pause.
And I think also it's about, support groups. You've got people
Yeah.
who are following a very similar pathway with
Mm.
Mm.
similar
Mm.
challenges. And I think what can often happen is we have well-being individuals trying to solve it, but they aren't experiencing something
Yeah.
similar to what families are
Mm.
experiencing. And well, you just need to do this, you just need to do that, but they
Mm.
are not experiencing on a daily basis what others are.
Correct.
Do you find that as well, Finn?
Yeah, very much so. I think it is everything you said there. I would concur with. It. I think when you are a trainer, you do need to be doing two things, isn't it? You don't want to
Yeah.
be pompous and all seeing because you don't know what people are doing. I think the other thing you do is what I think you do very well, Judy. I'm not sure myself, you and Sarah are as good at the active listening because we're both talkers, really, aren't we? We both get in there, and we're not. I'm a listen to reply sort of person. I think I get the feeling, Judy, you're a kind of got a more deeper listening to understand sort of person. But that's why I
Yeah.
could not really be a counsellor because I,
Mm.
you know, I wanna, I wanna move on. I'm not.
And
I
solve
need
it.
to listen. I don't listen very actively, to be honest with you. So I need to get better at that.
I think when I'm saying that as well, I'm meaning family as well.
Mm,
Other members of the family who,
mm,
when families are going through difficulties, sometimes there can be somebody looking in saying,
mm,
"Well, you just need to do this. Have you tried this?" And you're like, "Do you not think I have tried all of these things?"
mm,
And
mm.
so these groups can go, well, they can empathize and walk alongside. People are well-meaning, aren't they, Sarah? But
Yeah.
um, well-meaning comments from people can actually be very frustrating and
Yeah.
make individuals not feel very good.
Yeah, I
And I
mean,
think, no, yeah,
go on. Sorry.
sorry, the classic one there is that thing of like, well, I just wouldn't give them the choice. I just
Yeah,
tell them they had to do it. I'm
yeah,
like, do you not think I tried that?
yeah. Well, sometimes the other client I was going, you're absolutely right, and then the other times, and sometimes you'll say, well, you know, my mother-in-laws or father-in-laws can sometimes be mother-in-laws, but
Yeah.
yeah, he was like this when but he kind of grew out of it. So I wouldn't be having that I wouldn't be going that route. He's fine. Look at him now. Look at him now.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
and you're not
yeah,
living with that person who
Yeah.
is causing you stress and worry and sleepless
mm,
nights and
yeah,
concerns about the future and yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
it's it's, it's
yeah,
hard. Well-meaning,
yeah,
it's the old thing about you're stuck with your family, but you choose your friends, and that's where a support group again. You will choose those
yes,
people in the support group
yeah,
who really help you sort of navigate what you're going through.
yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. That is brilliant. So if we move on then, Finn, if Send were a song, what would it be and why?
Yeah, I was thinking about this really, and it's what would it be and why? I'm going to say all right now, simply because it's not as good as it could be. It's only a bit all right, really. Baby, it's all right. And I think there's so many more things that we could do. But I do look at when people talk about the good old days, and they weren't so good, were they? And I know we want
No.
everything to change
Yeah.
overnight, but if you were physically or visually impaired, if you had SEN, you were basically marginalized. You were, and we've come a long way. And I think
Mm.
sometimes I think it's good for us to not pat ourselves on the back, but just to say that, we're on the right path. We've
Mm.
created a far more inclusive society. We're getting better at navigating why people are different. We're not there yet. Obviously some of the policies and procedures around us, we would all like more, but we are a lot better than we were. So as I said, I would be saying it's all right now, baby. But it's not perfect. So,
No, it's really quite refreshing, isn't it, Sarah, for you to say that, Finn, because there is so much challenge with regard to special needs, but it's really important to see the journey we've been on. But
yeah,
actually, it is
yeah, yeah.
that we have moved on
Mm,
a
So
lot
things
more. And
have
when
changed.
I think about when I was
Mm.
at school, there were individuals who were marginalized,
correct.
and
Yeah,
it breaks
yeah,
my heart. They were marginalized and in some ways forgotten and at
yeah,
worst
yeah.
ignored.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
And
I
many,
I I
many of
yeah.
yeah. Of the young people that, like, didn't even go to school, didn't or excluded. They were excluded, but it was just never really was seen or talked about but
Mm,
it was I was in Mitcham, just saying then when you said
mm,
Sutton, it
mm,
made me think
mm, mm,
of my school. And I just remember, when we had supply teachers who would leave crying because the
mm,
class was so difficult and the tables would be thrown up and
mm,
all these things would happen. But it's like, oh, we never used to have these issues. I'm like, no,
mm.
I think we did.
I think we we
Nobody
all we
understood.
all we always did. I think where we had it was I do also think teachers are better trained. I think,
Yeah.
they there is a lot more professionalism in this area. I think sometimes we don't give that credit.
No.
The whole ways in which we're responding to behavior are very different now and understanding. I think having said that, there's so much loaded up on them, because of,
Yeah.
there was different departments and to do different things, whereas teachers are expected to do everything right
We're
now.
all.
But I
Yeah.
think overall, it's that we are moving forward in lots of areas, and I see lots of progress, lots more understanding, and but I think we shouldn't, we should never be complacent. We should never
No.
settle for what we have. And sometimes we also have to say it. You can't sort out everything.
Everything.
You're not going
No.
to get everything straight away. We're on a journey, and so it's about working together in partnership and not not lowering your expectations, but being realistic about what schools and
Yeah.
teachers can do. Really,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think the working together thing's really important actually and connecting with each other and just kind
yeah.
of like and understanding how we see things differently. So on that kind of like thinking about your and that this could be your own a book that you like, but just thinking, could you tell us about a book that you want to either recommend or talk about? Could be one from your childhood, it could be one that you're reading now, it could be one that you've all used, could be your own book. We've had that before, Ginny, haven't we?
No, well, I certainly wouldn't do that. That was boring. But anyway,
I thought they're
I
good. I
suppose
like some of your
I
books.
suppose
All
that
of them.
there's two books that I would like. I just were just fab. Birdsong is just magnificent.
Yeah.
If you've ever got a chance to do it, and it's not about the war; it's about the relationships before that. It's Sebastian Faulks. It's just a most amazing book, really. And I've one I come across recently, and I can't remember the name of the author. It's called All the Colors of the Dark. And again, it actually promotes itself by saying these are characters that you'll never forget. And it was true. All the Colors of the Dark. But I can't remember the name of the author straight away off the top of my head.
Oh.
Wonderful. Yeah.
They're
Well,
not they're not
as
directly about
we
it's more they're not educational per se, it's just it's a sort of it's a distraction sometimes I think you need for people when they're, away. So,
abs
yeah.
But absolutely. I mean, that's often I do a lot, I'm talking about teaching reading and literacy. And it
Mm,
is about actually we need to appreciate how books can give us that distraction, can
yeah.
take us to a different place, time,
Mm, mm,
experience, emotion. And I
mm.
think that's really, really important. We
Well,
are
you got to go
compiling.
back to what you said about you got to protect your own mood to help theirs.
Yes.
Basically, this goes back
Yes.
to that again. So,
I like, and that's actually a really good takeaway from this about
mm,
protecting your own mood, because
mm,
I think that's part of the culture I've noticed a bit more
mm,
is moving towards that appreciation of the well-being of everyone. I know we kind of talked about it a lot, but there seems to be a bit more in practice
mm,
around everyone being given an opportunity just to or to understand that actually how we feel has an absolute direct
mm.
impact on what's happening within the schools.
Yeah, and I always
I,
say this.
I,
I know it's a little bit over said now, really, but you got to sort out mood because if you
Yeah.
don't do that, what's mood spelt backwards? And there's a reason for
Good.
that. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't remember
oh,
that bit of that. That's good.
mm,
whoa!
I can add that one.
I
I've
love
got you
it.
on a slide.
yeah.
I've got one of
No,
your
that
quotes on the
you gotta
slide.
you gotta. I mean, it's just there's obviously a secret reason for why that was done. Really, I'm not quite sure.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
everyone has slightly different, I like, give credit to Paul Dix for,
Yeah.
when the adults change, everything changes. I think a lot of us are saying the same sort of things, to say in
Yeah.
different ways, really. But, yeah.
And I think, it is about acknowledging everybody's mood as we're having this
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
conversation.
mm,
I in my role I do a lot of paperwork, as you can appreciate,
mm,
and
mm,
then I get to a point I'm like, right, I need to stand up. I need to go outside. I need to go for a walk, and I need to
mm,
get some air to kind of
mm,
clear my mind or
Yeah.
re-energize me. And
yeah.
all we're doing, Finn, is
Mm,
we are modeling what what we want for children, and this
right.
whole idea of when I go to a conference, if I have to sit for more than 45 minutes,
No.
Oh,
forget
yeah.
it. This
Yeah.
idea of, people call them movement breaks, whatever. I call it
Yeah.
just being ready to learn. So
Mm,
actually,
mm,
it's just what would I flip it? What would I
mm,
like?
mm,
If I'm at a conference, I always like to know the order of things. I like to
yeah.
know when I'm going to have a cuppa. I like to know
Mm.
when food is. They're just human needs, aren't they?
Yeah, it reduces the anxiety and helps you. I mean, we all know the reason why we all click is because we've got similar thoughts on this, really. And I mean, Sarah, you, I always try and practice what I preach. That's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to do. So
Yeah.
there is, I play games and stuff, and partly it is just to sort of stimulate people. I
Yeah.
would say that what I've learned about attention deficit disorder, you don't deserve attention or focus. You got to earn it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So I think,
Mm.
and you got to earn it. If you're a presenter, you've got to earn
Yeah.
people's focus.
Yeah.
You've got to earn people's attention.
Attention.
You
And then you've got to
can't
keep it.
expect it.
And then
Yeah,
you've got to be aware of when it might wane. And then you've got to kind of like have a toolbox of like, oh, I can do this, I can do that
got to
to
go
get
off
that sense
piece.
of
Got to go off piece sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, you do.
Oh,
Although,
you absolutely
yeah.
have. You absolutely have.
You're an avid skier, Ginny. Looks like you are really, because you were like, absolutely, I'm off. But yeah, you just jumped onto that. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
no, she's off piece. That's why
if
Ginny and
there's
I get on
yeah,
so well. Oh,
if
no.
the, yeah, if there's a piece to go off, I'll be off on it. Then I'll be off on it. And some follow and some don't, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, oh,
that's
well.
the nature of it.
No,
That's
no pain, no
this has
gain,
been
and all that, really. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. But this has been so interesting and so refreshing
Yeah.
in your kind of down to earthness about all of this. Just
Mm.
just
Mm.
actually just going with what individuals
Mm.
need, and yeah, just great and
I'm
just
I'm very I'm
very
very lucky
reassuring.
I'm very lucky in this sector. I just meet so many like-minded people, and I think,
Yeah.
you've got that sort of it's all. And, we do sometimes sit at home on our laptops if we're not training and stuff, and
Mm.
it's always refreshing, and good to talk to other people in the field and
Yeah.
get their
Yeah.
perspectives, and
Yeah,
you recharge, you become recharged by it, I think, really. So thanks for all the stuff
yeah,
you're doing in this medium, because I think it's, you know, it really I they really do, I think, help inspire and they do change attitudes, I think, really, for people,
Yeah.
or
Oh, thank
confirms
you. And
what
also
people are
it's about the
doing.
joy.
It's a joy,
Yeah.
and sometimes they confirm what they're doing is what you probably
Yeah.
is probably recommended
Yes.
to do, really. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It does make me laugh, Finn, that you said we are new kids on the block because,
yeah,
I
like,
know.
I'm in my
50s. I'm a new
yeah,
kid on the block in my
yeah,
50s. Ooh, ooh.
yeah.
you know what?
I've been
Just aging very well, then, ladies. All I can say, really. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been teaching for 32 years, so
Yeah.
I just new kids maybe to this arena, maybe
Okay. Yeah.
but I'm happy to be a new kid on the
Yeah.
block, aren't you,
Absolutely.
Sarah?
I would.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I haven't given you the sort of.
Oh, no,
What
I
I
like
mean is
it, Finn. Don't
no,
worry.
I like
I
it.
mean, Sarah obviously was kind of, we met about 10 years ago now, wasn't it, at
At
Islington when you were
CES, yeah.
coming out? So you were
And you
moving into
introduced me
this.
to Bev.
Yeah, you introduced. Yeah, yeah, and so that's what I suppose, Ginny. I've not met you as much as Sarah or whatever, but
Yeah.
the bottom line is that. But I think people who are also doing this sort of stuff also, because I'm less likely to do these types of presentations or these kind of
Mm.
schemes, or not schemes, this sort of medium you're
Yeah,
using. So I think it's really important to do that for what is the market now and how people learn, and podcasts seem are
Yeah.
really important. Really, it's not. I get asked to do some like yourselves, but I don't organize that sort of area. So
No.
that's what I mean. You guys are up with the times, I think, really. So,
Up with it. Oh, even
you know
Finn,
that.
you've just got even better. You tell
Yeah,
my 10-year-old son that, he'd be
okay.
like
yeah.
that. Oh, are you joking?
Yeah.
If it, yeah,
Yeah.
up with the title. I like that.
I'll give a quick story. So my
Go
daughter, for when she was about 2 years ago now, when it was my birthday, she didn't have much money, so she said for her birthday prep, for my birthday present, she'd give me 3 hours of her time to help me with some tech stuff. Anyway, the year after, she said, "No, I'm going to buy you a present because that just wasn't worth it." So you know,
I
I love
love that.
old dogs, new tricks, all that sort of stuff.
Love
I
it.
think. Really.
It's getting that balance, isn't it, between learning new things that will help us.
Mm.
That's why any technology I use is to help me to save time so that I can get in classrooms.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
basically, it has to
Oh, look,
and be
and like,
easy.
and it's great that we've got these options.
Yeah.
Obviously we have to navigate them, in terms of other things. And I suppose it's always the issue about how much screen time versus how much active time. It's a little bit of, it's got to have a balance, haven't you, between all the mediums we have, really. But I mean,
Yeah,
look how
yeah.
tech has transformed, the lives of
Oh,
people with SEND,
absolutely.
both
Yeah.
now and when they leave. My daughter is still, she's dyslexic. She's 28 now, 29, and still she uses Grammarly, because for her getting a report, and
Absolutely.
it still probably takes her twice as long as everyone else, but things like Grammarly really help her presentation, and using
Yeah.
the AI as well to make it all sound and look good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Otherwise, I mean, it's not that because otherwise, people, as you know, they can't even see the mistakes, and this will help them massively. So yeah, I think it's but like everything, a balance, really, so.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Fintan. It has been a joy, and
Okay.
let's keep in touch.
Vice
Keep the
versa.
new kids on the block. Kind of.
You'll get some t-shirts for you. Get some t-shirts and
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh my!
yeah.
We're so
We
up
like
for that.
merch. We like merch.
Yeah, we love
don't
a bit of
Yeah.
merch. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh look, we've got
Yeah.
our mugs. Look, Finn.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah,
there
I've
you
got
go.
my lid.
It starts.
Yeah.
You've already got the merchandise ready. Look, you've already got the merchandise ready
Right.
to
That's it.
go on tour.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Fintan. And
Pleasure.
as we
Lovely
always
to meet
say,
you
Sarah,
both. Okay.
it's always a pleasure, Sarah.
Never a chore. Thanks, Finn.
Never-
See you later.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Finn.
Nice to meet you both again. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.